I want to start by telling you a secret that I kept hidden for a very long time. It is a secret that might surprise you, especially if you are listening to me speak right now. The truth is, I used to absolutely hate English. For years, English wasn't just a subject in school or a skill I wanted to learn. It felt like a giant invisible wall that stood between me and the rest of the world. It was a heavy weight that I carried on my shoulders every single day. I would look at people who spoke English fluently and think they were superheroes. I truly believed that they were born with a special language gene that I simply didn't have. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever sat in front of a textbook and felt your eyes get blurry because nothing made sense? Have you ever felt like your brain just wasn't built for this? If you have, then you are exactly where I was. I cried, I felt stupid, and many times I quit. But today I want to share the real story of how I went from total failure to where I am now. This isn't a perfect story. It's a messy one, full of mistakes and dark moments. But if you are struggling right now, I hope my story shows you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Let's go back to the very beginning. When I first decided that I needed to learn English, I was incredibly motivated. I thought that if I just worked harder than everyone else, I would succeed. I looked for a secret formula or a shortcut. Because I didn't know any better, I fell into two very common traps. The first was what I now call the dictionary trap. I went to the bookstore and bought the thickest, heaviest English dictionary I could find. I remember the smell of the paper and the tiny, thin pages. My plan was simple, or so I thought. I was going to memorize 10 pages every single day. I would sit at my desk for hours, writing down words in a notebook until my hand cramped. I learned words like abacus, abnormality, and absolution. Words that sounded very fancy, but words that I have literally never used in a real conversation since that day. I was filling my head with thousands of words, but I had no idea how to build a single sentence. It was like having all the bricks to build a house, but no cement to hold them together. The second trap was the grammar prison. I became obsessed with the rules. I bought books that explained the present perfect, the past continuous, and the third conditional. I studied the charts until I could draw them from memory. If you gave me a written test, I was a genius. I could tell you exactly why a certain verb needed to be in a certain form. I got 100% on every exam. But there was a problem. The moment a real human being walked up to me and said, "Hey, how's it going?" my brain would completely freeze. I would stand there, my heart racing, trying to find the right grammar rule in my mental filing cabinet. By the time I found the rule, the person had usually walked away or looked at me with a confused expression. I was a walking grammar book, but I couldn't have a simple conversation. I spent 2 years living like this, studying 4 hours a day, feeling miserable, and still being unable to order a coffee without my voice shaking. This led me to what I call my dark moment. It happened at a small party where there were a few native English speakers. I had spent the entire day practicing my introduction in front of the mirror. I had my sentences ready. I felt confident. A woman approached me and asked a very simple question about my job. I started to answer, but I made a tiny mistake with a verb. I saw her tilt her head just a little bit, a small sign that she didn't quite understand what I had said. In that second, I felt a wave of heat rush to my face. My ears turned red. I suddenly felt like a small child who didn't know anything. I stopped talking in the middle of my sentence. For the rest of the evening, I sat in a corner, silent. I I watched everyone else laughing and sharing stories, and I felt like I was behind a thick sheet of glass. I was there, but I wasn't part of the world. When I got home that night, I was so angry and hurt that I threw my English books across the room. I sat on the floor and told myself, "That's it. I'm done. I am just not smart enough. Some people have the gift for languages, and I am clearly not one of them." I didn't open a book or listen to a word of English for 3 months. I gave up completely. I accepted that I would always be the person who couldn't speak English. But then, something strange happened that changed everything. I call it my aha moment. I was sitting in a cafe, and I saw a small child watching a cartoon on a tablet. The cartoon was in English. The child wasn't taking notes. He didn't have a dictionary. He wasn't worried about the third conditional. He was just laughing. He was enjoying the story. In that moment, a light bulb went off in my head. I realized that for years I had been trying to solve English like a difficult math problem. But English isn't a problem to be solved. It's a tool to be used. It's like a hammer or a bicycle. You don't learn to ride a bike by reading a book about the physics of balance. You learn by getting on the bike, falling down, and trying again. I decided to try one last time, but I made a promise to myself. No more boring books. I threw away the grammar charts and the dictionaries. I started a new journey based on 3 simple steps. The first step was immersion through joy. I stopped forcing myself to read academic articles and started watching the TV show Friends. At first, I didn't understand 80% of what they were saying. I used subtitles in my own language, then English subtitles, but I was actually enjoying myself. I started to feel like the characters were my friends. I wasn't studying for an hour anymore. I was living in English for an hour. I was hearing how real people actually spoke, their slang, their rhythm, and their jokes. The second step was focusing on input rather than rules. I started reading very simple stories, like books written for children or graded readers designed for students. For the first time in my life, I saw how words lived together naturally. I stopped memorizing lists and started absorbing patterns. My brain started to recognize that certain words just sounded right together. I didn't need a rule to tell me. I just knew. The third step was what I call the 70% rule. I decided to stop trying to be perfect. Perfection is the enemy of progress. I told myself that if someone understood 70%, when you learn phrases, you are learning grammar and vocabulary at the exact same time without even trying. Third, understand that mistakes are the price of admission. You cannot speak a new language without making mistakes. It is impossible. Imagine a baby trying to walk. Does the baby fall down and think, "Well, I guess I'm just not a walking person"? Of course not. Every time you make a mistake, it is proof that you are trying. If you aren't making mistakes, you aren't growing. Wear your mistakes like badges of honor. Finally, consistency beats intensity. This is the most important one. Don't try to study for 5 hours once a week. You will forget everything by the next morning. Instead, give English 15 minutes of your time every single day. Listen to a podcast while you brush your teeth. Read 1 page of a book before you go to sleep. It is better to walk 1 mile every day than to try to run a marathon once a month. Learning English didn't just change the way I speak. It changed my entire life. It opened doors to new jobs, new friendships, and a whole new world of information. It gave me the confidence to stand here and talk to you today. You are not a language person. You are just a person who hasn't found their path yet. Do not give up. Your dark moment is just one chapter in your story. It is not the end of the book. You have the power to change your story, starting right now. I know you can do this, because I was the student who failed every test. I was the person who sat silent in the corner. If I could do it, You can do it too. Thank you for listening to my story. Now, go out there and do something fun in English. Watch a movie, listen to a song, or even just talk to yourself for a few minutes. Just keep moving forward, one small step at a time. You've got this.